Hi, Booktube, Amy. I'm back again with another reading in my series on the private papers of a bankrupt bookseller. This is a fictionalized diary of a London bookseller, originally published in 1931. And today we are picking up on page 38 of my edition, beginning with the section titled Titles. Handling F.W. Bain's books in the new small edition, which Methuen are offering, I am enthralled by the titles. A Digit of the Moon, A Heifer of the Dawn, An Essence of the Dusk. What poetry there is in these titles for me. How different the new Vogan titles. Goodbye to All That is one I see announced. Liquor, Loot, and Ladies is another. They don't enthrall me, these titles, however the contents of the book may attract. I thought of some titles in the same vein as F.W. Bain's The Dust of a Star. That was my first attempt, and The Echo of a Dream was my second, but I gave it up. I have no title even to be a title writer. And the next section is titled The Back Shop of the Bookshop. Battling along the street, out for an early walk, with a southwest wind blowing, it seemed 100 miles an hour. I thought all the time of the back shop of my bookshop. I saw the plashing rain and the wetted pavements. I saw the blown skirts of the girls shop bound, and shopward bound, like myself. I saw, on the far side of the street too, these heaving, waving trees that are the only bit of nature I have learned familiarity enough to love. But none of these things did my mind dwell on. Like Byron's dying gladiator, who heard but he did not, I saw but he did not. Turning like a corkscrew, wriggling, persistent, I thought of my back shop, and especially of my new gas fire contrivance, which only yesterday I had fitted. It was with a sense of having with much difficulty arrived that I hastily opened my shop door and got inside out of the rain. I was glad to get into the shop, although I was an hour before the usual book buyer is due to appear. I put my door weight against the door, and presto, my shop is open. I don't sweep my shop every day. It doesn't always need it, and sweeping raises dust, which settles on the books. If I had not found these good reasons for not sweeping my shop, I would be unhappy, because I would reproach myself for being lazy. I don't reproach myself, and the man who is free from self-reproach is freest of freemen. I believe, as Stevenson has said, in the importance of the grim condition of keeping friends with oneself, and a somewhat dirty shop, perhaps, is the grim condition in my case. To the back shop, therefore, I go. It is really, I suppose, what some would call a scullery or a back kitchen. Certainly a sink with a tap, suffering from a chronic but not unmusical running at the nose, faces one as one enters. A window with 12 panes on 2 sashes lets in the light from my neighbor's yard. It reveals a dingy room, some would think, but I find it a veritable heaven, or haven rather. I write haven and recollect such is the haunted memory of a bookseller. These 8 lines of Gerard Manley Hopkins. I often say them in this room, for though the writer thought of something unimaginably remote from me and this place, yet somehow they apply. I have desired to go where springs not fail, to fields where flies no sharp and sided hail, and a few lilies blow. And I have asked to be where no storms come, where the green swell is in the havens dumb and out of the swing of the sea. I have that sense of haven here, and the new gas fire gladdens me. It is a new type, fitted to fill my grate, and is shaped like a cushion, throwing up its comforting, glowing warmth into the room and up to my face as I sit writing before it. Beside it, I have another attachment on which I can boil a kettle, and even if I want to cook food. Above it is my mantel shelf, on which lies an ever-changing assortment of books. I have a leather chair for comfort, a camp bed, and 2 wooden chairs with rush seats. Beside the leather chair, I have a most handy and convenient stool, on which I have papers and a pipe, or whatever I've had in my hands when called to duty from the comforts of the chair. Students of Cowper will observe that mine is an incomplete accruement. So slow the growth of what is excellent, so hard to attain perfection in this nether world. Thus first necessity invented stools, convenience next suggested elbow chairs, and luxury the accomplished sofa last. I am satisfied with my stool and elbow chair. A sofa is unfashionable nowadays, and I do not blame the fashions. I have never wanted a sofa. It seems too commodious for one and too crowded for two. I have always thought, and anyway, this room wouldn't hold one. There is barely room indeed for the big table and the cupboard which completes its furniture. The table I eat at, do my accounts at occasionally, for I hate them, read at, and at times have even bowed my head on it and gone to sleep. It has supported much, my table. May it support my needs as long as I require it. Certainly I want no better. But my cupboard is an interesting feature of my back shop. It is unconnected with books, except in so much as the bookseller eats and drinks and uses dishes and spoons like a Christian. I have an excellent stock of cups, saucers, plates, bowls, and basins. The ware is coarse white stuff with a most attractive blue pattern on it. I have the necessary cutlery, assorted it is true, but I can appreciate the variety of a knife with a cracked, stained yellow bone handle, and an efficient, businesslike fellow, thin and almost wiry, with a corrugated metal handle. Some knives are bred for bread knives, and others seem to be born with a bloodthirsty intent. I am fortunate. I have both kinds, and a variety of others suitable for every variety of occasion. I have also decanters, glasses, and tumblers, for I drink beer, whiskey, and wine. This morning I make myself tea. I make it very weak, and drink much of it, flavored with slices of lemon and sugar. I don't take milk. It is inconvenient to have about a room such as mine, and I have weaned myself as well as my cat from it. I remember a tea planter I met once railing at the enormity of mixing a fine oriental vegetable to concoction, or brew like tea, with a vulgar animal product of a cow's udder. I feel the appropriateness of the Anglo-Indian's objection. I put in a lot of time in my back shop. I have no chairs in the front shop at all. When I mind the shop, I read lying over a counter, a restful pose, and one studiously bookish too, if one lets one's head rest on one's hands, elbows on the counter. Digestion, too, I think, is rendered quintessent in this way. The ridge of the counter bisects the stomach and makes for repose. A Scots tramp, who I met in my previous existence, told me of a lodging house, a kip he called it, in which he had stayed on the Glasgow road, or was it York? It was an old house, anyway, which had seen better days, and its large rooms held dossers all around, each lying on the floor on mattresses, heads to the wall. Down the middle of the room a rope was hung about 4 feet from the floor. Those who could not pay 4 pence for a bed on the floor could have a twopenny hing. This consisted in hanging over the rope, head, shoulders, arms, and the trunk on the one side, thighs, buttocks, and legs on the other. The discerning, and those who had lost things before, made a pad of their coats, but the bare rope, my friend said, was not uncomfortable. It helped sleep too, the head being turned down, although the morning was a rude awakening, for the keeper of the house, who was no trembler, brought the strong men low by unshackling the rope. Then all the twopenny hingers knew the night's rest was over and another day had begun. I sit in my chair when I want rest and retirement, and from it, through the half-open door, I can see my shop. I always have a meal at midday, for I don't trouble about breakfast except for my morning tea. My midday meal I usually prepare myself, but preparation is only getting out the dishes and the food. Bread, onions, cheese, beer is my staple, though I do eat pies and roast beef at times. I often make soup too, but lately I have thought it bad form for a bookshop to smell like a soup kitchen. I content myself with simpler things, and these entail practically no dishwashing, which, reduced to the minimum as it is with me, is still one of the greatest wearinesses of the flesh. I always read at meals. It promotes digestion in spite of what the doctors say. It has a greater virtue too, for no reader at meals was ever a glutton for food. For one general who died of overwork, 9 died of overeating. The Duke of Wellington is alleged to have said, and fond through time, I am fond of food. Fond though I am of food, I am glad book reading never allowed me the time to be a gourmandicizer. A few of my customers have discovered me in my back shop, and occasionally I have a pipe and a glass with them, but not often. The same scruple which makes me feel the incongruity of soup makes me feel the incongruity of turning this annex of my business into a bar. I am a public man, but will not make my shop a public house. I think there is something of the backwoodsman in me, for I have a lively sense of the necessity for this retreat from the public. I suppose I am really shy, but whatever my motive, I like the back shop no less than the shop. For if in the shop I am reminded that man does not live by bread alone, in the back shop I cannot forget how good it is for man to be alone, to be able to shut out all the world and commune with that darkness within him, which he is pleased to call his own soul. Then I can answer Whitman's question, "Hast ever come to thee an hour, a sudden gleam divine, precipitating, bursting all these bubbles, fashions, wealth, these eager business aims, books, politics, art, amount to utter nothingness?" And my answer is an affirmation here as I write in the back shop behind the bookshop. And that is the end of that section there. So we will end it there for today. The next heading here is titled Fellow Feeling, followed by Pen Picture of a Bookseller.